Thank you.
His
clean in, clean out.
His statement on top of what Jimmy is screaming in his helmet, which says something about your plays, your play calls suck, man. Your plays suck, man. Like that part is clear. Can't really tell what he said exactly before that. But Doc writes, let's recap the past year for Jimmy G. You win at about a 70% rate in your career, but the 49ers draft your successor. Then take the team to the playoffs while battling major injuries. Then they try to trade you and then blame you for getting surgery. Then they don't release you, and now they need you. So, and this is where I am too, set aside, just if you can, I want you to grab your right hand, maybe your left hand, and grab your left hand, and sort of visually wipe to the side for a moment your thoughts on Jimmy the player. Forget that for a second. And let's go Jimmy, the person. And think how you'd feel if... No, don't do that. Because this is very, very real. And it's relevant to the 49ers this year. This is not a sympathy play. If that's what you thought I was about to say, that ain't it.
I was looking for the Sally Struthers music.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
We may need it.
No, don't do it. Because this is real now. This is not for sympathy. I don't want... Oh, but he made $100 million. I'm not... Nobody feels bad for Jimmy.
You're taking my best bit, but go ahead.
There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. This is real. This guy...
So put aside the player who's not very good.
Forget the fact that you're mad that he walked out of the back of the end zone. I am too.
We're talking about the man. One man with feelings and emotions.
One man.
Totally. With the feelings and emotions.
At what point are you going to be like, you know what, Kyle? You know what? How about if you take a bleeping run through traffic? How about that? When is Jimmy allowed to be like, you know what? Bleep you! Bleep you! Running me on a screenplay at the one. Boy. No, for real, bud.
No, for real, pal.
Okay, Chief.
He could have done that, buddy, when he decided to re-sign for $6 million.
So, but look at his situation. He is now thinking, I'm not a 49er next year. You got to let me cook because that's what he wants.
You can't cook, though, bro.
Exactly. So this is the problem. We all agree he can't cook. You know who doesn't agree? He doesn't. He thinks he can cook. And so I'm wondering if Jimmy is actually playing for the 49ers this year. Or is Jimmy playing for the contract that he's trying to get somewhere else next year? That is a huge problem.
Well, if he's doing what you're saying he might be doing, then the two things go hand in hand because you don't get the next big contract unless you play for the 49ers. You can't go rogue, shout out Rogue One, you can't go Rogue 10 and still go out and get the contract because you can't cook. It's not like he can go full Lamar Jackson and take over a game. So the play call comes in and Jimmy goes in the huddle and he calls the play. But in his own mind, he's like, this is Jimmy time. I'm going to go ahead and beat the other 11 guys on my own. He can't do that.
But you know this. There's never been a professional athlete in the history of ever who's like, you know what? I'm just not very good at this. Like, that's not how they think. How do you get there? You don't get to this level.
You've got a big ego and you're an alpha male.
Every point guard in the NBA, if you ask them who's the best point guard in the NBA, they raise their hand. Even the ones who are 28th. Russell Westbrook still thinks he's the best player on the planet. That's how they think.
I don't think Chris Chiozza raises his hand, by the way.
He thinks that he hasn't been given the opportunity.
Perhaps.
To show what he can do. I promise you. Who doesn't think that about themselves? We all do. We all think that if given the opportunity, we could thrive in a way that has not been realized as of yet. Jimmy Garoppolo, as Kyle said, one of the best throwers on the planet.
Right.
He is not, maybe he's like, well, yeah, Tom is Tom. I'm not Tom. But if this whole idea, like, you know who you are? You're Tim Rattay. No, he'd be like...
He's Tim Rattay plus. He's Rattay plus. And JT O'Sullivan joins us coming up at 11 o'clock.
Take it easy.
No, it was a quarterback transition. Tim Rattay, former Niner. JT O'Sullivan, former Niner. Jimmy
Gotcha.
Garoppolo, former Niner, current Niner, future former Niner.
Right.
It all works, Mark. I don't need to have to hold your hand and tell you how to do radio, but that was a beautiful transition.
You'd be nice to JT.
Can I bring Jimmy Garoppolo's poor play back in because we've spent enough time on his feelings and his emotions? The poor guy got $100 million.
Here we go.
I mean,
I don't want sympathy.
For just $100 million, Jimmy G.
There we go.
You can mouth bad things about the coach. You can throw ill-timed picks. You can drop the ball when Jake Brundle hikes it between his legs, Jimmy.
By the way, that wasn't his fault.
Whose fault was it?
Kyle Shanahan even said it was Brendel's fault. Said the whole team went on one and Brendel went on two. Direct quote.
Anyway, 3, 2, and 1. For just $6 million, Jimmy, you can put your emotions aside and you can be mediocre. Your coach has supported you, and yet you blast his play calling. You mouth bad things about Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy. But you know what? There's brighter things ahead for you. You can be a backup quarterback for the Jets. You can hold Zach Wilson's lunch bag as he goes out and plays mediocre football.
Hold on a second.
For just $100 million, Jimmy, we're going to protect your little feelings and emotions.
Hold on a second. Did you just say that your coach has supported you? Did you just say that?
He brought you back.
He fired you.
And rehired him.
No, he didn't rehire him. He was never gone.
How did he get re-signed?
He didn't get re-signed. He got restructured.
Well, how did he get restructured?
Because nobody else wanted him after shoulder surgery. Or, as I'm now learning, Jimmy thinks, you want to know why no one else wants me?
Because he stinks.
He doesn't think that. We do. He thinks.
You know who does think that? His teammates outside of George Kittle.
Clearly not. Clearly
we'll
not.
See. Brandon Ayuk.
Whisper.
You think Brandon Ayuk is Team Jimmy?
Oh, because he was really putting up numbers with Trey. Listen, and I know that's not fair. I know he got a game and a quarter, and one of the games was in a monsoon. We haven't seen enough of Trey to know what that would be. But based on the play calling, it wasn't going to be a lot. He wasn't throwing the ball enough for a wide receiver to put up numbers. So, listen, I know what Jimmy thinks, and it's not that he stinks. Don Yee and Jimmy Garoppolo do not think Jimmy stinks. That's why I wanted all of us to put it aside for a second. You can think he stinks. I can even admit that he's mediocre. We can all think what we want. Jimmy doesn't agree. And what is coming very clear now is that Jimmy thinks that Kyle has held him back.
That's hilarious.
Listen.
No, it's hilarious.
It is
a hilarious
hilarious.
notion.
Of course, but it is what he thinks because he's him. I'm very confident that Jimmy does not walk around and be like, yeah, I am super mediocre at this. He is one of the 25 best quarterbacks on planet Earth right now. Do you know
That's a stretch.
No, it's not.
That's a stretch.
It's not a stretch.
On planet Earth?
He's not one of the 25 best quarterbacks on planet Earth.
I'd put him in the low 30s.
Great.
I'd take about 7 college guys over him right now.
Great. He's one of the 35 best quarterbacks.
Arch Manning is a better quarterback than he is.
If any of you were one of the 35 best anythings on planet Earth, you would have an ego that couldn't be held in check by the clouds.
And I do.
Okay.
And I am.
Congrats.
You're welcome.
Is your boss holding you back?
I mean, look.
Who doesn't think that about themselves?
You have to think that about yourself.
Exactly. So I don't blame him for it. This isn't for sympathy. This is for the reality of this situation. And if Jimmy Garoppolo wants to sling it a little bit more and he thinks that your plays suck, man, this is a major problem for the 49ers because it tells me that Jimmy Garoppolo might have an eye on the future more than now, and you can't win that way.
But the only way he gets to the future that he really wants is to play ball in Kyle Shanahan's offense.
Are we sure about this?
Well, how else is he going to do it? He's not going to go rogue.
But check it. He's done that for 5 years, and what do we all think? Oh, look, the league doesn't want you. They all think you're a concoction of Kyle, and it won't work without him.
And that's most likely the truth.
And he's trying to disprove that theory.
Well, the only way to disprove it is by going out and winning football games. Because he's not going to have the opportunity to throw it 45 or 50 times. That's not going to be the construct of the offense. And let's just say Jimmy G decides to start going rogue and rejecting play calls that come in and running his own plays. Well, he'll be pulled off the field and he won't have the opportunity to go out and get that next gig. So Jimmy Garoppolo has had plenty of time, plenty of opportunities to show that he's the kind of quarterback who can go out there and dominate with his play. He wins, but not because he goes out there and throws the ball a ton or makes plays on his own a ton. He's a system quarterback. He's a product of Shanahan and his system. That's why he wins.
I don't disagree with anything you just said, but I'm starting to think he does.
Well,
he disagrees.
Here's the way it goes.
He disagrees, and he's the one that's calling. He's the one who's snapping the ball. He's the one who's got the ball in his hands. He's the one who's dropping
the ball and throwing it away to the other team.
So it doesn't matter in the end what you think or what I think. It doesn't matter what any of our opinions are about Jimmy. He has been forced into duty as the starting quarterback for the 49ers this year, and he appears to be a different person. He appears to be a different person in post-game press conferences. He appears to be a different person on the field. He appears to be a person who now, for the first time in his life, has an opinion. When has Jimmy ever had an opinion before?
Well, I'm sure he's had an opinion, but he hasn't voiced it. You're right.
When have we ever seen him express an opinion? Ever. He's Tom Brady, Bill Belichick schooled. He does not share his opinion.
And to your point, when he did get fired and then he got rehired by the same team, when he came back in this new realm and then Trey Lance gets hurt and he comes on and he helps the team win that game. Trey Lance gets credit for the victory as the starter, but Jimmy G runs off the field and he's beaming. And it's just like riding a bike. I'm back, baby. Feels great, baby. And all the rest of it. And now you go out and you lose in an embarrassing fashion. National TV, your offense has been described as beige by experts.
Yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, Kyle Shanahan, your plays suck, man. Well, now what happens this week when, by the way, Kyle Shanahan's not going to see that video and say, man, Jimmy, you're right. My plays do suck. Who do you think's more arrogant and more egotistical, Kyle Shanahan or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Kyle Shanahan.
So, and who's in charge?
How many times the last 5 years has Kyle, when cameras aren't around, been like, dude, Jimmy, you're terrible. He's so
They traded up to get his replacement.
He's so furious that they gave up 3 first rounds of assets to get out from underneath him. That's what Kyle thinks of Jimmy.
Exactly. And yet, you're in a spot where you feel like you have to go back to Jimmy, hat in hand. Jimmy, can we please restructure? We need to keep you. Nobody wants you. And you know what? I guess we kind of do want you, Jimmy. Would you stay for $6 million in incentives? And Jimmy's thinking, well, I got no other option. $6 million sounds pretty good. Sounds good, baby. And so now he's back. And it's a relationship of mutual reluctance.
Listen.
And regret. And animus.
There was 100 ways this could go. So I want to make sure that I am not using the phrase, I told you so here, because that's truly not how I feel.
It feels good to say it, though. You can say it.
No, because I'll say it this way.
Just say it, Mark.
Say it! I feared when they brought him back that many people who stated at the time, this is great.
I thought it was great.
I mean,
still do.
The insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And the love.
Mutual love.
Are you all under the impression that we got to this point and you're believing that they're telling you? I mean, our relationship has just been perfect the whole time. Like, we love Jimmy.
Feels great, baby.
Jimmy loves us. And so, he was just standing there. And then John was like, I don't know, maybe you should play for us. And then I was like, whoa, that's some stuff I hadn't thought about and stuff. And then, hey, Jimmy.
That's your little Kyle in there.
You want to stay and stuff? Like, I hadn't thought of that, but do you want to? And he's like, whoa, man, you guys are so great. This has been so fun for the last year. I can't think of a better idea. Wow, I would love to sit here as a backup with a headset on and watch you play football for the next
$6 million. I mean, let's not weep for him too much.
You all thought that happened with a smile? You all thought that this didn't happen with people yelling at each other in closed doors? Is that what you thought? You're seeing it. They're furious with each other. Whispers in the locker room. Kyle's facial expressions on the sideline. Jimmy's on Twitter. Your plays suck, man. We're in front of microphones and podiums after games, and we're going, gee, tough situation I was put in. And, I remember 2017. That was fun because that's when I got to actually play like a quarterback. That's what we've got in 3 weeks, and you all thought this got here by kumbaya. Come on.
Mark,
it's not how it works.
Just say it, Mark. Say it. It'd be a lot quicker. It'd be a lot easier if you just came out and said it. Don't stop dancing around it. It's just 4 simple words. And, sip on the water, rear back. You didn't bring your water bottle today, which is okay. I want you to just take a deep breath and let it out, because what you just went through in 2.5 minutes can be boiled into 4 easy words.
Let's go to phones.
No, you're such a cat.